Today we are going to continue to learn about Maha Periyava, and I also have three stories to share. The first two are going to be on the experiences of devotees with our Maha Periyava. Then the third one will be the story I promised yesterday, which is the story of a lion cub. And then I shall end the session with few important details on knowing who your guru is. Now, let us go into the devotees' experiences with Maha Periyava. There are so many personal experiences that people have shared that one cannot even begin to count. So from there, I have chosen a couple stories, and I say stories, but these are real events that actually happened. So the first is the incidents where MahaPeriyava showed his compassion even for a person who was deceitful. And the second story I'm going to share is the experience of a 12-year-old boy named Purandara Keshavalu. The first story is an event where our MahaPeriyava showed all of us how non-judgmental he was. And it is important to pay close attention so we can all learn from this, even on how we could be a bit more non-judgmental in our own lives. Once MahaPeriyava and a few disciples and devotees were returning back to the matam after having darshan in the temples in Kanchi. And just before he entered the matam, there was a line of beggars on the side of the path with their begging bowls. MahaPeriyava's attention was caught especially by one beggar who had his entire leg tied in bandages and seemed to be supporting himself on a stick. And it looked like this guy was in a lot of pain from his leg. So MahaPeriyava stopped next to that beggar and in his usual soft voice told the devotees that if they had any cash to spare, to offer it to this beggar. And immediately all the devotees were enthusiastic and happily gave whatever they could, and in no time there was a collection with ample enough of money. MahaPeriyava then asked this money to be given to that beggar, and the beggar received it with gratitude. Soon after that, MahaPeriyava looked at the beggar and said, "Now you can keep your leg straight." And he walked back into the matam without looking back. All the devotees were shocked on hearing this. They now knew that the beggar was faking his wounded leg to evoke sympathy. And the devotees followed MahaPeriyava into the matam. Once inside, MahaPeriyava addressed the devotees. "You all must be wondering why I asked you to spare cash to that pretentious beggar even when I knew that he was faking it." He chuckled mildly and said, "It looks like you don't even have the option to go and ask for the money back either." He continued in his calm voice, "Who knows, if only we were in his state of then maybe we would have behaved even much worse." The takeaway message for all of us is that instead of criticizing or looking down on someone, we should own the quality of being both non-judgmental and compassionate. And this is a required quality for spiritual progress. It is not enough if we just worship MahaPeriyava, but we should first know what he preached and also practice what he asks of us. So the next time you come across someone or a situation that frustrates you or makes you upset, try and pause for a moment and ask yourself how you can approach them more non-judgmentally and compassionately. Now pay attention to this next experience because I'm going to ask a pop question at the end of it. One day, MahaPeriyava was walking towards Sri Shailam along with his entourage. Suddenly, there was a heavy downpour, and the rain became so heavy that walking itself became difficult. There was an old Shiva temple nearby. So Periyava had decided to stay in this old temple and changed into dry clothing. Soon the news spread to the nearby village about MahaPeriyava's visit, and people came in large numbers and received him with honor. He blessed everyone, and after a few hours, he continued his journey. In about 8 miles, there was another village, and the village chief came to know about MahaPeriyava's visit. He received MahaPeriyava with great honor and requested him to stay in his village for a few days and bless the people. MahaPeriyava acknowledged his request and announced that he would stay for 21 days there. Immediately, they got the campsite cleaned up and a huge tent was erected. The next morning, MahaPeriyava went to the nearby pond to take a bath and got himself ready for performing the Chandra Maulishwara Puja. But the mutton administrator looked worried. Leaves from a vilvam tree are used for the everyday puja, and it looked like there was no vilvam tree in that village. The mutton administrator showed the villagers a sample of a vilvam leaf that he had and told them that they need 1 basket of those leaves, which are required for the daily puja. Even the mutton disciples searched around for a vilvam tree, and they found none. Next day, as soon as MahaPeriyava got ready for performing the puja, he looked at all the puja ingredients and asked for the missing vilvam leaves. The visibly disturbed administrator replied that he had sent people in all directions to look for a vilvam tree, and hopefully they will get it soon. MahaPeriyava quietly went to the back of the tent and sat on a stone slab at the cowshed and started meditating. It was 11:30 in the morning. Still, there was no sign of a vilvam for puja. The administrator was extremely worried because MahaPeriyava had announced that he was going to stay for 21 days there, and he could not even complete his puja on the very first day of his stay. On top of this, MahaPeriyava would not take food without completing his puja. Soon, MahaPeriyava opened his eyes from meditation and smiled. One of the mutton disciples came running to MahaPeriyava with a big basket with fresh green vilvam leaves. MahaPeriyava seemed very happy and he asked, I was told that vilvam leaves are not available in the vicinity. I wonder how they got a basket full of vilvam leaves now. Then he proceeded to perform the puja as per the Shastras. He also said, I would like to give prasad to the person who brought these vilvam leaves. Please bring him to me. After the puja, MahaPeriyava gave prasad to everyone. And then he called out for the person who had brought the vilvam leaves. And yet, none of the devotees that were gathered there claimed that they had brought the leaves. The disciples then mentioned that they just found the basket in the courtyard and they didn't have a chance to see who kept it there. MahaPeriyava wondered out loud that it could have been Chandramaulishwara himself. And so MahaPeriyava proceeded to the other activities and the day concluded successfully. However, the administrator was still worried as he was thinking about the next day. So the next day came and the mutton administrator asked the same disciple to go to the courtyard and look for the basket of vilvam leaves. And surprise, surprise, today too, there was a basket full of fresh vilvam leaves. MahaPeriyava looked at the administrator and gave a meaningful smile. The administrator responded to MahaPeriyava, saying, Periyava, someone had left a basket of vilvam today too, and we still don't have a clue on who it is." He replied, "You should be more alert and find out who is bringing it. When you find him, please bring him to me." So the next day, the administrator was waiting patiently, and he found a young boy quickly leaving the basket of vilvum leaves, and he was about to leave. The administrator was quick to react. He stopped the boy in his tracks and asked him who he was. The boy looked very young, wore a tuft, and was clad in unclean clothes. So the Matam administrator said, "Go take a bath, wear clean clothes, and also wear vibhuti, and come to Maha Periyava to take prasad." The boy looked puzzled, nodded his head, and ran away. Around 3 o'clock, the boy came back. This time he was wearing a clean white dhoti, had groomed his tuft carefully, and wore vibhuti on his forehead. The Matam administrator gladly took him to MahaPeriyava and said, "Periyava, this is the boy who's been bringing vilvum leaves for puja every day." MahaPeriyava looked at him with compassion and inquired about him. The boy shared details of himself. He said to Periyava, "I am 12 years old and I am the son of a shepherd. My name is Purandara Keshavalu." He asked the boy, "I wonder how you are able to fetch vilvum leaves when everyone here said that there is no vilvum tree in the vicinity." The boy replied, "About 4 miles away from the camp, there are 3 trees my father had shown me. He also told me that those leaves are used for performing puja for Lord Shiva. And 2 days back, I heard the villagers and the Matam disciples talk about the need for vilvum leaves. They also showed that sample leaf. So I was able to recognize the leaf, and that is why I brought them here every day." MahaPeriyava was very pleased to hear everything that the boy was sharing. He asked the boy if he had any wish to be fulfilled, to which the 12-year-old boy said, "I have 2 wishes. I shall ask for one wish now, and the second one I shall ask on the day you leave the village." He smiled and asked the boy, "Okay, what is your first wish?" He replied, "My father passed away a few years ago. He used to be fond of Carnatic music. He would sing songs of Saint Tyagaraja and Saint Purandara Dasa. He also taught me those songs. If it is all right with you, can I sing those songs every day in your presence?" MahaPeriyava was immensely pleased and said, "You have Chandramaulishwara's kripa. I would listen to your songs every day." And from that day on, MahaPeriyava would listen to his melodious voice and would also correct the pronunciation here and there. This went on for days. On the last day, when MahaPeriyava was leaving the village, he was looking for this young boy. Then he spotted the 12-year-old standing in a corner with his eyes glistening with tears. He asked him to come near and said, "Now is the time for you to ask for the second wish. I assure you that I would grant whatever you want." The boy could not control his tears and started sobbing. He said, "I have been told by my father not to ask for any worldly things from saints and gods, but to only ask for self-realization." This shook MahaPeriyava for a moment, and he said to the boy, "I am so pleased with your devotion, and I sure shall plead with Lord Parameshwara to fulfill your wish. You can return back to your home content." The boy was very happy, did his namaskarams to MahaPeriyava, and left contented. He blessed the boy and gave him prasad and also a garland of tulasi. Years had passed, and one morning MahaPeriyava was in Kanchi. He went to the temple pond at Kanchi Kamakshi Amman temple and took a dip. He then wore ochre robes and started doing japa. After some time, he again took another dip and started doing japa. Maha Periyava repeated this bath and japa routine 7 times in quick succession. By the time he completed this whole routine, it was almost 6 in the evening. By then, a mutton disciple came running with a message in his hand. The message was that Purandara Keshavalu, the boy from many years ago, was dangerously ill. Maha Periyava replied, Purandara Keshavalu was one of my devotees. He had just passed away due to a viral infection. But he had 7 more births to take before he attained liberation or self-realization. In order to give him relief from being born 7 more times, I performed japa 7 times. And with this, my duty towards the sacred young boy is complete. From this story, we now know what we should ask from Maha Periyava when we go to the temple next time. So I'm going to ask the audience now. Does anyone know what is the main thing we should pray and ask for? And a hint is, if you recall, this was Purandara Keshavalu's second wish. Okay, so I am going to call Soumya. I've unmuted you. Soumya.
Self-realization.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. So we should ask for self-realization or realizing our true self. So now let us go to the story of a lion cub, and I'm going to share my screen right now. Let's see. Okay. So for the story of the lion cub, there once was a lioness and she was pregnant. And so she delivered a lion cub, but sadly, the lioness died soon after giving birth to this little cub. Along came a herd of sheep, and the lion cub joined this herd. The lion cub had so much fun growing up and playing with his sheep friends all the time. He grazed on the grass and leaves that his sheep friends would eat, and he even bleated like a sheep. In fact, the lion cub thought he was a sheep, and he never knew that he was a lion. One day, a large male lion came along, and on seeing the sheep herd, he roared. All the sheep, along with the lion cub, ran helter-skelter for their lives. The large male lion understood why the sheep were running away, but he had no clue why this little lion cub would also run. The male lion caught a hold of the lion cub, and after a short chase, had asked him, "Hey, why are you running away from me?" The lion cub bleated with fear and said, "I'm afraid you'll make a meal out of me," and bleated again. Now the male lion understood the problem, and he led the cub to a pond and had the cub look at their reflection in the water. When the lion cub looked at his own reflection, he could not believe his eyes. He looked nothing like the sheep he thought he was, and instead he looked like a lion. And that is when he realized he is a lion and not a sheep. Here is a point to note, which is that to realize the truth, the lion cub did not have to become the lion, but he only had to realize and recognize the fact that he already is a lion. The lion was led from ignorance to knowledge, otherwise phrased as darkness to light. Now, similar to how the lion cub had mistaken his own identity, we often mistakenly limit ourselves with our names and physical forms. And all we have to do is recognize the fact that we are already infinite. So how do I recognize the fact that I am that infinite? Before we answer that, I'm going to ask the audience another question. Does anyone remember the meaning of a guru from yesterday's session? And bonus points if you also tell me the meaning of gu and ru. All right. I will call on Kalpana. Kalpana Krishnamurthy.
Guru means someone who takes you from darkness to light.
Yes.
And Gu means darkness, and Ru means light.
Awesome. That was the exact right answer. Great. So yeah, just like Kalpana said, gu means someone, gu would mean darkness or ignorance, right? And ru means light or knowledge. So guru means the one who leads us from ignorance to knowledge or darkness to light. So to realize the fact that you are indeed infinite, you need a guru who can give you that knowledge and lead you out of your ignorance, just like the Lion Cub had with another as having the lion as a guru. So your next question may be, who is a guru? Many people have this question, and in reality, you come across many spiritual teachers. It is only natural for you to get confused in identifying our guru, and we end up jumping from pillar to post. To have clarity on this, we should first know what our shastras say as the qualifications for a guru. Just like a math or any teacher needs to be qualified to teach the subject, a spiritual guru has certain qualifications. And there are 3 qualifications. So let's see what they are. First, he should be a shrotriya, meaning a guru should be well versed in the knowledge of shastras. So he can give us the true knowledge and not any modified versions of shastras or Vedic knowledge. And he should not change anything that is said in our shastras to his or our convenience. Second is he should be a Brahmanishta. That means he should be self-realized and abide in the true infinite self. Let me try to make this simpler for you. He should abide in the knowledge that he is not apart from God. Most importantly, the guru should be in this awareness all the time. And I can explain this by example. Sometimes in movies and plays, there are men who act and play the role of a woman. They dress up in their female costume, they walk like a woman, talk like a woman, and might even win awards for their performance. But no one, neither during or after the performance, forget that they are a man and not a woman, right? So similarly, a guru should always be abiding to their true self. Outwardly, he may continue to transact in this world like a regular person. Third is Aka Mahata, which means a guru should not expect anything materialistic in return for giving the divine knowledge to the devotees or disciples. His only objective should be to elevate the disciples, a spiritually realized person just like him. And this he should do for nothing materialistic. Apart from this, there is a clue with which one can identify his or her guru. Your guru will be the divine person in whose presence your mind becomes absolutely calm and you experience nothing but peace. If you experience this, then you know he or she is your guru. With this, we come to the end of the session on Maha Periyava, and I'm also going to drop a link in today's chat that's going to be a trivia on what I just covered right now. And it was so wonderful sharing these stories with you, and I really hope you enjoyed them. And I'm going to hand it back to the panel to introduce the next panelist. Thank you. Anyone want to answer? Okay, Raghav, go ahead.
So if I'm right, it's going to be Maha Periyava, the 70th.
Yes, excellent. You got it right. Okay. Next question. So what does Jagat Guru mean? I'm going to ask Mahika.
Okay, so Jagat means the world, so it's the guru for the whole world.
Awesome. Okay, great. I guess I'll pause here because it seems like our panelist is ready. But it looks like we're off to a great start.
Chandra, are you back? Can you please unmute? Meera, can you engage with a couple more questions?
Okay, sure, no problem. All right, so we're continuing this. Maybe we'll just finish the whole quiz then. Third question is, what does the word guru mean? Let's see. I'm gonna pick someone at random. Okay, Nikhil. Go ahead.
Guru means someone who takes you from darkness to light.
Yeah, you got it. Darkness to light, ignorance to knowledge.
Okay.